Hey guys, it's Todd. Welcome to Personal Development Hacks. We've got a special guest again today, so settle in and grab yourself some water. All right, guys. So today on Personal Development Hacks, we do have a special guest. His name is John Sales Warrior, and I'll bring him on now. So, how's it going, John?
Hey, Todd, man, going excellent. Pardon me. Thanks for having me.
No, of course, man. So for those in the audience that don't know you or know kind of what you're about, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us all what you're about?
Yeah, man, I'm from the sticks of Missouri. Four fields of farmland either direction. Humble guy. I started in sales 34 years ago. Been doing it for a lot of years. Really enjoyed doing it, and recently wrote a book. Have a master class on professional selling, and also for whatever reason, Todd, I started an international comedy podcast about 3 years ago. We got about 40 hours of comedy.
Good. Well, that's it's sometimes smiling and laughing is absolutely the best medicine.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, with our show here, we're all about just kind of helping people live their best life and, kind of get out of their own way, get unstuck and start achieving goals rather than just setting them and get out of that kind of status quo life. So, but it's interesting that you said that you did sales for obviously 30 something years. So
yeah,
with where you're at now and looking back, what has sales taught you or continue to teach you just about not necessarily the sales aspect, but just people in general or interactions or conversations or anything like that, or just people in general?
My people skills have gotten 1,000 times better being in sales because, like, when you're trying to make a commission, like if people don't like you, forget it. They're shutting you down so quick. It'll happen so fast. It's like a bad date.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing is because I sold homes and stuff like that for home builders. And as soon as someone feels that you're about the paycheck, they're done. But if you take a step back from it and you just humanize yourself, and in real estate or coaching or anything, we only succeed if our clients succeed. And so you kind of do what's best by them and as best as you can, catering to what they're asking for. And let's face it, sometimes what they want and the reality are different worlds. But as long as you're having that conversation, you can kind of narrow down to, what makes them walk in the office, or what makes them call you, or what makes them come in to want your product, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say, like, one of the best things people can learn if they're trying to learn sales for the first time, or if they're just trying to get along with their fellow man, is curiosity. Don't be so concerned about yourself. Be curious about what's going on in the world around you, including what's going on with your friends and family.
Yeah, and we've talked about it on the show before about being present, right? Like, if you're in a conversation, it doesn't matter if it's sales or family or whatever, but just being present in that moment so that you can pick up on exactly what they're wanting and the emotions tied to it. Where if you're not present, you're thinking about something else and you're going to miss all those. In sales especially, you're going to miss those clues that are like they're really passionate about something, or this is something they really don't care about, and I don't need to address it. I'm going to focus on what they're passionate about, right?
Absolutely. We call it my business drivers. Like, if you can find out what that driver of that client is and link it to your product, you've made a sell.
Mm-hmm. So equate that to, and I'm glad you said that, like a driver, because it's truly, it's like, it's inspiration versus motivation and stuff like that. But with those people, with those drivers, like, just take that and equate it to life. Like, it's, I mean, people have a driver with something they want materially or coaching wise or something like that. But how does it equate to just a broader spectrum and just being a human being, like how should people look at that driver or react to it or, think about it?
Well, take your business, for instance, a house. Like, why does somebody want a house? Because people want a house because they want protection from the elements. And they want a nice house because they want to prove to their friends that they have nice protection from the elements.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine when a house is being sold, at first it's all emotional. Like, people can picture themselves. Oh, I can picture my couch over there. Oh, I can see the kids playing in that backyard. Oh, look at that pond over there. This is amazing. But then when all said and done, they're going to confirm everything with logic. Oh, well, we could afford the payment. It has good schools and everything. But in reality, they bought that house because it gave them an extreme warm fuzzy. And warm fuzzies are important in business. If you can't give your client a warm fuzzy or your customer a warm fuzzy, they're going to buy from somebody else at a higher price that gives them a warm fuzzy.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. And I think it, like with coaching as well, it's like, it's different. It's not the house. It's nothing tangible, but I'll say that warm fuzzy feeling is when you've taken the step to get help, and you've kind of jumped in, both feet, not a toe in the water. You jumped in and you're like, I'm going to do this because my way wasn't working. So I'm going to commit to this.
Right.
And then you start making progress. Now your decision, you feel justified in making it because you're actually doing what you wanted to do in the beginning. And it's just, it's not that you didn't want it any less when you were setting resolutions and couldn't make it through, or you had a bucket list that you just changed the year on it every year and you never actually accomplished anything. It's that you're actually making progress, and you can start to see, like, wait, I'm elevating my life. I'm leveling up. I'm getting closer to where ultimately I want to be. And what I'm doing this, I can do sustainable. I think that's the biggest thing, is that regardless of what kind of, where you're at in life or whatever, you're never too old, and you don't need permission to remodel yourself. And if that's a decision you make and it starts to work, your confidence level goes through the roof. And I've seen it, clients I've had that, it's like they'll be sitting here on week 3 and they'll just, they'll be on the call and they'll be engaged and they'll be present, but they're there and they're figuring stuff out. And then week 4, all of a sudden, it's like someone completely different shows up on the call.
Oh, wow.
Because the confidence has gone through the roof, and they're like, I got it. Like, I'm making progress. And you told me that, I was going to have these things that stood in my way, and I had a game plan, and I did it, and I took a huge leap. And all of a sudden, that's that switch that goes from what I'm doing to who I am, and once it becomes who you are, now it's a you with high confidence and that fire in that driver, or that, just internal fire that is just burning, becomes even brighter, and you're looking out for, hey, what's next? Because, and you start to hunger for that what next.
Yeah.
And I know with society, it's a little bit kind of a bad term, but it becomes addictive. Like, you get into it and you become addicted to the process of getting better each and every day, and you start looking for opportunities, and it's amazing how many opportunities come to you that you had no idea were there, because all of a sudden your confidence is high. And it's, good vibes attract good vibes.
Sure. You'd mentioned that, Todd, and I'm a word picture kind of guy. And I'm just picturing, because I was a Boy Scout leader for for 7 years. I'm just picturing two people being tethered to each other and rock climbing, and the coach is above the student, and the coach is saying, hey, put your hand there, trust me, put your hand there, put your foot there, put your other hand there. Now start to bring yourself up. And I'm right here. You're not going to fall. I'm right here. We're going up together. And that's what a coach does. He pulls the other person up because they only have so much mental strength and you have more mental strength. In association, and that's what I'd encourage people today. Association, so important. Like it's so important. It's missed on so many people. People think education is important. Education is minimal compared to association. And that's been proven time and time again, because there's a lot of multimillionaires that aren't educated, but what they are is associated.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of talking about it. Is just like, you know, you're being shown a path that, like, I'll be the first to say it. Like my coaching program, it's about my personal experiences, and I'm only here to tell you what worked for me. I'm not saying this works for everybody. I'm saying this is what worked for me, and I'm opening the book and saying this is what worked. Here, use it because it worked. I know it. I lost 100 pounds in a year, and all I did was adjust my diet and walk, but I did it consistently, and I did it intentionally, you know, and about halfway through, that switch went for me, and I stopped getting questions about, like, what am I doing? You're losing weight. How much have you lost? Like, you look like your clothes are loose, stuff like that. I stopped getting those questions because now it was who I was, and I just showed up and it was me. And it was no longer the questions about like what I was doing, because I had established this is me. I ain't going back. And I think that's when, you know, and that's when people, like, it's so fun to see that transition, because people just, I mean, they accomplish like what they set out to, and all of a sudden, like, the world just goes wide open to them. And they start looking for stuff, and, you know, just, you know, oh God, I started doing this thing with my health, and all I did was, you know, minimal workouts, and, you know, but I was active, and I started to make progress, and I just kept doing it, and I was intentional and consistent with it. And now a date night for my spouse and I, we go out twice a month, once to dinner and once on a walk. And the other days of the week, we're walking anyway. And it's so fun to see, because it's like, if you're intentional with one goal, and let's face it, people set resolutions for one of three reasons, right? Health, wealth, or relationships. But if you're focused on one, the others are coming with you as you gain confidence and you make progress. You know, you're going to start, you know, looking at stuff at your job, or, you know, your wealth position, and you're going to start improving there, and your relationships with your kids and your spouse or whatever. Everything starts to get better, and that's when you're truly, like, you're leveling up your life.
Absolutely. Focus is so important. Focus and process and inspiration, man. You can have a Ferrari in the garage, and if you don't have gasoline in it, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's very true. It's you know, you're not doing this, like, if you do it right, and you ask yourself, like, after you set your goal and you ask 7 times, like, why it's important. If you end on, I want to flaunt my wealth, you haven't gone far enough, because there's reasons way below that. And I'm not saying it's like, if that's on your bucket list, like, I want to own a Ferrari and I want to pay for it cash and be able to do it comfortably, great, then go do it. You know, that's fine. If that's a goal that is part of it, that's fine. But then you have to have a plan to, okay, after I buy it, what am I doing to my position in my wealth? If it's something to where you can cut a $250,000 check and be like, that's fine, I'll make that in the next couple months, then go do it. You know, But you gotta get to that point first. Don't walk in there. Don't start a program that's like, you're going to start to accumulate wealth, and you're in the Ferrari dealership going, how's this financed?
Hey, the Ferrari sales guys have to eat too.
That's true. Sometimes and some months they eat better than others.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Sure. So with that said, John, like in all the years you've had, what are some of the biggest fears that people face on a regular basis that you see from making a decision?
Yeah, so like a product that they bought from me, what
Yeah,
fear would
well, yeah. I mean, in your experience, obviously it's a product.
buyers, yeah. So buyer's remorse. So everybody has buyer's remorse. And that's common.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a person in business, you have some control over buyer's remorse, because there are going to be things in business that happen that don't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that's going to mean for everybody, but you got to be committed to the after the business. So after the sale, as an example, you got to be just as committed to delivering on that as you deliver on making the sale, and creating the person taking action. And if you give world-class service, like I teach my people, we give a world-class service. I want you to treat these people like their family. And that's how you should treat people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no excuse for treating people like a number. None whatsoever. And if you start like really gaining, gaining personal satisfaction from doing the right thing, then that's the right process. Like, you believe these people or these businesses. Thing is, people think when they do business with a business, they're not doing business with people. You are doing business with people.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important. You cannot think of it as a number. You cannot think of it as making your number, or making your goal. First and foremost, you got to deliver what you're telling people and businesses that you're going to deliver. That's so important. Software really taught me a lot. I was in software, Todd, and that's a needle in a haystack business.
Mm-hmm.
So like in real estate, you got a house, like you're going to list a house, you're going to take somebody out to a house. In software, sometimes you're uncovering a problem they don't even think they have.
Mm-hmm.
Until you get your engineer out there and you plug into their network and you show them, whoa, you guys got some big problems. Let me show you. And then they're like, well, what can we do about it? We call that proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do about it? Proof of concept. So many people in business ask for the business before they delivered proof of concept. And that gnaws on me. Like, that's unprofessional. Like,
right.
You got to thread the needle. And if you don't have proof of concept, and proof of concept is simple, does the product or service meet the need, and can they afford it? That's proof of concept. If you have proof of concept, you should absolutely ask for the business. But until you have proof of concept.
Well, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because you're exactly right. Like, when you get to that point where you've shown them the proof of concept, you validate that you have a solution to what they're looking for, or you have a solution to stuff they might not even know that they're looking for, and you show what it does, and you've proved that this product fits what you're looking for. It's I don't want to say immoral, but it's the wrong thing, and you're doing them no service by not asking them to move forward.
Right.
Like, you have to get to the point to where, you feel like, look, I've fixed your problem. It's going to cost you X. And, then people come up with their own objections, but you've proven the product works. And
right.
So those objections become less. I mean, they'll still hem and haw about price and timing and everything else. And that's fine. Society has trained people to, doesn't matter what you say as a price, it's too much in their mind. But, you know, at the same time, like I don't, like when I talk to potential clients about it, I don't talk about price. I talk about investment, because that's really what it is. You're investing in yourself, which is by far the best investment you will ever make in your life. And it will pay you back 100-fold over your lifetime if you continue to invest in yourself. And it could be through coaching assistance. It could be through reading books. It could be through, you know, seminars that you go to or whatever, just to, it may not be something that like you're going to utilize immediately, but sometimes it's worth investing in yourself just to get a different perspective on things.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you present someone with something and they can give you a different perspective on it, it's just, it opens your mind up to more possibilities. And it's because everyone's got, you know, different experience levels, different experiences, different ways that they've handled things. And if they're open and honest, they're just going to tell you, like, this is what worked for me. I'm not disseminating anything else besides what worked for me and what I've seen work for others. So it's either individual knowledge or firsthand knowledge because I worked with someone. But I'm telling you that you may come up with a different way. If it works and you continue to make progress every single day of your life, then you got a new way of doing it. That's awesome. Share it with me, because then I can share it with others.
Well, Todd, and here's a great thing for people to hear about. And I've hardly heard it like mentioned in any sales seminars that I've ever attended, and I've attended some. I've read a plethora of books on professional sales. All the big names we can think of, I've read. But what's super important, and I think the closest sales guru that gets into this would be Tom Hopkins, is get involved with companies and people's finances. So what do I mean by get involved with people's companies' budgets and finances? First, find out what they're spending money on right now. Then you find out what's important to them. If you can find out what somebody spends money on right now, then if you show them they can cut a percentage of that out, they're not going to die. Like if you and your family are eating out 5 times a month right now, or I'm sorry, 5 times a week right now, or 4 times a week right now, or 3, whatever it is, you can get in there and you can carve out money they're already spending. So if you're carving out money people are already spending, you're finding budget.
Yeah, it's not about spending new money. It's about reallocating current money already being spent.
And that is an art. And if you can get good at the art, as well as, and I see this all the time, they call reduce to the ridiculous, where you show them whatever they're spending in a broader spectrum way, it doesn't seem like very much money. Mm-hmm. Like you see, you know, for 12 cents a day, you can have our diet product, you know, but that's an example of reduced to the ridiculous. Does 12 cents a day sound very expensive? Or for less than $1.50 a day, you can be on our supplements. You know, like that's an example of reduced to the ridiculous, but that resonates with people. People don't think about how much they spend a month. People don't think about how much they spend a week. They think about how much they spend a time. And that's why if you say to somebody, this costs $5,000, well, you're doing a disservice. You should say your investment in this is this. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to invest. Nobody wants to buy.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and it's part of the society anymore. Everyone uses the Starbucks example, right? Like if you took the amount of money that you spend on Starbucks on a weekly basis and you put that in here, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. You know, I mean,
great example.
Hey, let's face it, less and less people are going to Starbucks because there's more and more mom and pop shops showing up that serve a little bit better product. But
what a great example of finding budget. Like, okay, how much are you spending on cigarettes? How much are you spending on Starbucks? How much beer do you buy a week? How much liquor are you buying a month? And you get all that down and you figure all that out. There's a lot of budget there to spend on, you know, books and professional coaching and things that can really be impactful to somebody, and or on the couch you want them to buy.
Hmm. Well, and it's, and you're right. It's, if you're from like my perspective and my company's objective, it's like if you're faced with the dilemma of, these ancillary expenses that you're incurring, but your goal and your intent is to level up your life, live a better life, live your best life, um, and really make progress and level up kind of where you're living. Part of you doing that is going to be cutting a lot of this stuff out anyway. I don't care if you're focused on health, wealth, relationships, whatever. There's costs associated with that you're already allocating that are going to get greatly reduced or eliminated anyway, because you're remodeling yourself and you're starting a new journey, and it pays for itself because it's stuff that you're going to get rid of anyway, and now you're investing in a way that's going to get you there faster and give you guidance and coaching and teaching and accountability, and a community that's all based on focus on the same things. And that's where, that's some of the thing that people I think tend to get scared of, is they'll be like, am I the only one? And that's where you have to build a community around it to say no. I mean, everyone's got different goals, everyone's got different what they consider success. Like you and I could sit here and be like, I want to get fit, and that's our goal, right? Your idea of success in getting fit and my idea of getting fit, and they might be completely different.
Right.
So it is an individual journey and path, but there's plenty of other people that are out there that are utilizing the same techniques as you, and have encountered the same things as you, in terms of obstacles that come in the way, roadblocks that show up, pebbles that are in the street. And they've come up with ways to not stop, but just course correct, and then keep going forward. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like those course corrections. It's like like one of the steps in our process before you even start is, why not? And that's the questions where you're going to answer, like, what has stopped me in the past? If it's something brand new, what do I foresee as issues that are going to stop me?
Sure.
And you come up with a game plan for them. And I kind of equate it to, because once you start, you're the Titanic, but you've already identified these things, and you'll see it, and you could start turning a lot earlier, because you're not a speedboat, right? I mean, if that iceberg's coming,
yeah,
you ain't stopping on a dime
I like
to
the
get out of the way.
analogy.
It's like you gotta take some time to get out of the way.
Yeah, I like the analogy. You got to get clear, right? You got to get clear on your vision. Most people aren't where they want in life because they don't know what they want, and they don't know the steps to take. You got to get clear. Mm-hmm. Just like if you're selling a product to somebody, you got to clearly understand what they need and what will benefit them. But you got to get clear. It's got to be succinct. It can't be fuzzy. If it's fuzzy, it's hard to like deliver to a fuzzy idea about what somebody wants. And you got to do that for yourself in life. I mean, it's so important. I mean, I can think of all the things that I've achieved in my life, and they've been tremendous. Getting out of debt at an early age, being financially independent, being in good physical health, having great relationships with my family and friends. They've all been decisions, and they've all been conscious decisions where I've written them down on a piece of paper, and I've transferred those visions onto my computer, so that like every Monday I can look at it. And some of my goals would amaze some people. Like one of my goals is I wanted to go to the most significant concerts I possibly could before these people died.
That's a morbid thought, but all right.
I'm like really logical and analytical. And I'm like, hey, Ozzy Osbourne's not going to be around here forever. I'd love to see Black Sabbath before Ozzy Osbourne dies. And I've seen Black Sabbath. I'm like, I want to see The Who. I've seen them twice. Yeah, twice. I've seen Motley Crue. Like these things are like super important to me. And then you find people and you associate with people that have like interests, And now I got a friend of mine that's in, he's a rock and roll promoter. He's got me backstage, and I was like within 6 feet of Vince Neil. Didn't get to speak to him because he's pissed off that night at the whole world, but got to see him from 6 feet away with his girlfriend and his bodyguard and his bass player. And I can tell you, like, this was about 8-9 years ago. He was so out of shape. We were standing right there. The drummer was drumming, trying to get him out there to do the first song. And he goes underneath the bleachers. Well, you know how you got a raised stage?
Mm-hmm.
They got a chair for Vince underneath there because he's huffing and puffing from the door to the back of the stage to underneath the stage. There's a chair for him so he can sit there where they hand him a microphone, and he can sit there and go like this as he's under there huffing and puffing because he walked 20 feet. Don't be Vince Neil, people.
That's the takeaway from today's show is don't be Vince Neil.
Don't get that out of shape that you can't even get on the stage. Now, granted, he put on a great show. Like once he caught his breath, it was a very short distance then to go from that chair up to the stage, walk the stairs. People thought he was, nobody saw that he was under. We had a special look into what was going on.
Yeah.
And
that goes to the heart of it. It's like, we get people that seek us out, either seek our products out or seek out coaching. And, a lot of times, like to start out, like we see the duck above water, right? And unless someone is like open and very honest with us, but they need to be honest with themselves first to realize that they may be the duck above water, but below they are kicking like crazy. And it's all the different stuff that's going on in their lives that they're dealing with. They're just not letting it out and shown, but it's still stuff that they're dealing with. And that's where, you need to start, and you need to start really like every day or every week, whatever, with just an honest self-assessment of like where you're at and where you're going to go. And it could be that week, that day, that month, whatever. But if you're honest with yourself about your assessment in terms of like, what type of person and where am I going to be on Friday and it's Monday? And then you can lay it out. And then you stop kicking so crazy because you got a plan in place that is going to let you make the progress that you want in that time frame that you need to be. Instead of like most people, you're kicking like crazy, and you feel people like, oh God, I had a busy day at work and I all this stuff was coming at me, and it's like, well, what'd you accomplish? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that's kind of society right now, is like, people just go to work and they pull their hair out and they go crazy doing all this stuff. But if you actually ask them like what they accomplished, they may or may not have an idea what they actually got done that day. Or if it was just, I pushed a bunch of crap till tomorrow, so now I got to deal with it tomorrow.
Well, Todd, you bring up a good point. So we're the average sum of our situation.
Yep.
And nobody wants to be average. But the reason why, if you think of, if everybody can see that, 5 fingers, if you think you're the average sum of the 5 people you associate with the most, and you maybe wonder why like Todd and I are, feeling like we have something to share with you today. Well, I don't know exactly what your summation is, Todd, but I know what mine is, because I've spent the last 30 some odd years of my life while I've been in business, and I've associated with Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. So how did I get so lucky? How did I get to spend that much time with some of the most famous people in the world? Because I own their books, tapes, CDs, watch their videos. And I didn't just like watch their videos and didn't just read their books. I filled yellow pads with gold nuggets that became part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I read See You at the Top when I was in my early 20s by Zig Ziglar, written in 1975, it became a part of my life, and I became the top salesperson in my division. And I was at that point, the newest and the youngest salesperson there. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have any customers. I started with 0 customers, but I had Zig Ziglar as my trainer, and he didn't know it. And later on in life, I had Tony Robbins as my trainer, and he didn't know it. And honestly, Tony Robbins isn't even in sales. I don't know if people realize that or not. He's in mostly coaching and motivation. He does teach some about sales, but that's not his gig. His gig is about taking somebody with a problem and turning them around. Like that's how Tony Robbins became world famous. He'd take a stutterer and teach him how to not stutter. He'd take somebody that couldn't memorize and teach him how to memorize. He'd take some sports character that couldn't, professional basketball player that was in a slump and couldn't score any points, and turn them around. He did it for hedge fund managers too that were in a slump. So he's not a professional sales trainer. He's known for sales, but he's not really a professional sales trainer. But even though I was still able to get gold nuggets, and I was still able to bring it into my life and my family and my process, and so can you. Like the only thing that keeps somebody from doing something to move themselves forward is look in the mirror. It's you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Todd. It's not me. It's you. Like I had a lady not show up for my podcast, begged to be on my podcast, was just like inundating me, and only had a certain time she could be on. And then she no-showed me. And then she sent me a text and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We could schedule another date." And I'm like, "No, we can't. One and done. Sorry." That's not how life works. And in podcast, no showing a podcast can be a symbol for your life. It can be like a word picture for your life. If you're no showing your life, you're no showing the gym, you're no showing not walking, you're no showing not reading, you're no showing not spending quality time with your spouse and your kids, then you're no showing. And if you're no showing, you're not moving forward. You're falling down on the job.
Yeah. No, it's that's very correct. I do know for a fact that Tony actually did start his career very early on in sales.
Kind of. He sold like this guy. I think it was Roan. He sold his tickets to the.
But he had a job like it was something like in real estate or something like that. Like he did start in sales, but you're right. His career has evolved that, he's not a sales trainer, but he offers so much that you can take whatever out of hit that resonates with you and put it throughout every other discipline in your life. He'll say something that has what most people will say has nothing to do with sales. But if you can look at it and say, actually that does, because he's talking about relationship developing and with family, but what he talked about is actually poignant for me for helping my clients. And I can ask those same questions and I can go through that same process. Then it is sales, right?
Yeah. I mean, his visions are like the one thing that he said that just made my eyes perk up one morning while I was driving into my office is he talked about all the people that have died, like John Belushi, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, all these people that I practically worship. And he said, why are they no longer here? Because they never evaluated themselves as being successful.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they were successful. Extremely successful. And the other reason he says that they're no longer here, and this resonates with me, and even if this is so important for people to hear, but it's not being happy and occupying your time with the events that go on in your life. So what do I mean by the events? The Christmas parties you get invited to, the birthday parties you get invited to, the funerals that you go to, the social events that you give out with friends, what have you. It's easy to be happy in those moments. It's easy to be present in those moments.
Mhm.
Where it's not easy to be present is like today, like after we sign off today, you and I, Todd, I'm going to have about 4 hours roughly before 3 hours, maybe before I go to church. So I have an event there and then we'll probably go to dinner, but I'm going to have maybe 2.5 hours that are like my time. What am I going to do with my time? Like, am I going to get depressed? That's what happened to John Belushi. That's what happened to Jim Morrison. That's what happened in those times off the stage, out of the spotlight. That's what happened to them. They didn't truly authentically feel that they were fulfilled and important and successful. And if you can learn anything in the process of growth, you got to believe that, one, you're a valuable individual to the human race. And why you're a valuable individual to the human race. Sure, like a golf bag, you could be the best driver in the bag, and you can add more clubs to make your game even better, like getting clubs from sitting with somebody like Todd as an example and really upping your game so you can become a scratch golfer in life. But you also got to be happy with yourself as a duffer. I mean, you got to like yourself. You got to want to esteem to something greater, but you also got to value the fact that you're, a living, breathing being, and that just your presence in the world is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. So I heard this, God, I can't remember who said it, but he said he said, if I can take 10 minutes of your day, I can change your life. He's like, I want 5 minutes before you go to bed, and I want 5 minutes before when you wake up. And he says, during that 5 minutes, all I want you to do is sit calmly and look at your life and be thankful and recount all the things that you're thankful for, all the things that you have, all the things that you bring to others, that you bring to yourself, and put yourself in just a really positive mindset, and then go to sleep. And then when you wake up, again, remind yourself all positive thoughts. Don't think about what the day has ahead, the reports, a boss that you don't like, you're going to get yelled. Don't think about that. Fill yourself with positive thoughts about the value that you bring, not just to your life, but to others, and then get on with your day. And if you do that for a week,
yeah,
I've done it. And it's like, all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, sit down in 5 minutes, and I'm thankful for my kids. I'm thankful that they're happy, healthy. My son's going to go play baseball in college. That's awesome. My daughter's got a 4.0, and she's, got a ton of friends that she hangs out with. That's awesome. I don't have a significant other, but I'm thankful that I don't right yet, because I haven't found the right one. So there's all sorts of stuff. But if you push yourself in that mindset, and it's 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And that's it. And
yeah,
all it is that 5 minutes, that's the time that it takes you to turn the TV off and sit there for 5 minutes. And the 5 minutes in the morning, instead of hitting your alarm, waking up and scrolling, just hit the alarm and take one snooze and think positive thoughts about what value you bring to your life and to others.
Absolutely.
So,
and I'd take it a step further. So most people write down their goals,
mm-hmm.
and many people teach to be grateful. And I believe it 100%. Like, I'm in a networking group right now, and one of the things we're accountable for is we have to say, what 3 things are you grateful for? Every day we write it into a software package. It's an awesome process, because historically I haven't done that personally. Yeah. And I've been in personal development myself for over 30 years, and I haven't done that. One thing I do, though, is that I write a list of my accomplishments, and I have it in my Outlook calendar, and it's 10 things. And it might surprise people what I consider my list of accomplishments, but it's something that's super meaningful to me.
Right. And that's all that matters. That's why you discover what your why is, what's important to you, and why is it important. And someone else could read your list and go, this is nonsense. but it doesn't matter. It's not their list. It's your list.
Yeah.
It's
And
why
one
it's
of them,
important to you, So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's, but so important. And how do you use it? So you get this list. So how do you use it? You use it in times in your life. And maybe that's Monday morning for you. Me, I'm in sales. So they say that like a professional guitar player never loses his angst going on stage. I'm going to say a professional sales guy doesn't lose his angst going into a presentation, particularly when it's about big dollars. So you got to jazz yourself up and realize who you are. Like times in your life where like you're in a stressful, make it or break it kind of situation. Maybe it's a first date, whatever. But if you go through that list of 10 things that you've accomplished in your life, the first thing is that you'll start to build a higher level of self-confidence in the moment, which is super important. All confidence is in the moment. And then two, if you add on to your list of accomplishments, things you haven't accomplished, and you look at that together, like I've done these 10 things and then these 3 things I want to do, but you say them in that you've already done them, whatever they are. I don't know what they are. I've flown an airplane. I jumped out of an airplane. I'm just giving examples. I golfed out in, Palm Beach, 18 holes. And it's because your conscious mind is one thing, but your subconscious mind is much more powerful. So if you sit there and you look at the things that you've done and you list with them, I call it a warrior vision list, and you list with it 3 things that you haven't done, you'll start to create ways in your mind where you make that happen.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful process.
Yeah.
Such a powerful process.
Yeah. And with that said, John, because I know you're kind of talking about that, so I'll just bring up your website. So just tell the audience kind of how they can get a hold of you and, what they'll find on your website there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Todd. Man, again, thanks for having me on. I imagine people that are lucky enough to be coached by you. I mean, I don't consider myself I consider myself a professional sales guru. So I've been selling 34 years super successfully. So easy to learn my stuff. You just go to saleswarriorinspire.com. You can get my book right there on the website. It's also on Amazon. You can get my course. It's a 3-day boot camp with about 30 hours of inspiration, instruction, and personal worksheets, video, audio, the whole 9 yards, really to inspire you. And if you get hooked up with me on a monthly basis, you'll get sent to you information like this, where the energy between 2 people comes out and you'll get inspired. And so we're just trying to put gas in the tank. But my course started at $400. I sell it for $99 now, which we call a daddy of a deal. So that's it. So easy to get set up with me, saleswarriorinspire.com. It's a gift that keeps on giving. The other thing that I would mention is get hooked up with me on LinkedIn, because I want to know what you do for a living. So it's just John, Jon, Sales Warrior out on LinkedIn. Send me a LinkedIn thing. I can't have enough of contacts on LinkedIn, and maybe I can hook you up with other opportunities that you don't know about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and then for me, guys, obviously it's go.project9life.com. So if you're feeling that crux of status quo life and you want something different, you desire for more, you want to level up your life, we've talked about it. We're here to help. I'm not successful unless you're successful, but it's a really impactful course. I've seen it help a lot of people, and just it lights a fire and turns the light on in people that no matter what you start off with is your goal, you're going to want more, and you're going to develop more, and you're going to make progress. And the next thing you know, you're going to be living your best life. So just go project9life.com and you'll schedule a call. Call's free. We'll just chat for a little bit, make sure we're the right fit for each other, kind of what you got going on and where you want to go, and see how we can help you. So, but with that, John, like you were talking about, like people when faced with something new or kind of branching out, like, it's natural, right? The first instinct when something new comes, either that you are seeking out or that you need, your first instinct is fear.
Absolutely.
Right? It's, what if I do this and it doesn't work? What if I do this and I fall short? What if I do this and it just blows up? And I always tell people, okay, I understand it's natural to feel that way. But think about it this way. What if you do this and it works? What is the impact that it's going to have on your life, on your business, on your relationships, on whatever? What if you do this and it actually works? And then you contrast that with, if you don't do this, you've already said that your current life or current situation you're not happy with. So if you don't do this, what are you going back to? The life that you said that you don't want anymore.
Right.
You know, it is a leap. It is an investment, but it's worthwhile, because if you put yourself in the right thought of, I'm going to do this because if it works, God, I'm going to just soar, and change your mindset. Like, don't be head down, be head up, you know, and start having that confidence in your decision making. The best and the most successful people out there, guys, they all have coaches. They have coaches. They have numerous coaches, different aspects. And not all of them are like there to guide. Some of them are there just to give a different perspective. But they value like someone that might not see eye to eye with, but can give them a different kind of take on it from a different angle, that they can then like utilize and be like, okay, I can see that now, and expand from there. So what do you think about that, John?
Yeah, you know, I wholeheartedly agree. It just goes back to research. So we're the average, and don't take our word for it. Like, anytime I'm explaining a concept to anybody, I'm like, use your own critical thinking. Like, don't take our word for it. Get out a piece of paper and think about the 5 people you hang out with the most, and look at your income and compare your income to what you think their income is. Is your income more than their income or less than their income? And I'm not saying income's everything. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. What I'm saying, though, is this just as a way to mathematically understand if we're telling you the truth. I think what you're going to find is that you and your friends live in about the same size house. You take about the same vacations. You probably have the same fitness level. You probably eat at about the same restaurants, because you are the summation of the average of the people that you hang out with the most. And Todd and I have just given you the opportunity to rise above, grab he and I, and then you could be the summation of us and the 3 friends that you hang out with the most, which will level you up, which is a great opportunity. But yeah, I mean, use critical thinking, get out a piece of paper. I thought about it one time. I can give you an example. Like, we are a summation of our situation. I'll give you a great example, Todd. So this has not been pre-done. I can't read minds or whatever. Todd, what is the first letter of your last name?
B.
B as in boy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me, Todd, in grade school, who was your best friend?
Is Chris Felt.
Okay. Who was your second best friend in grade school?
Is Trevor Foster.
2 F's. Do you know why?
No idea.
Because in grade school, they line you up alphabetically for mathematics and for spelling in the United States. And so because you're in close proximity, you're able to find connection.
Yeah.
And that's why many of the people that are in your life right now are your neighbors and the people you go to church with, because you're in close proximity with them. And however, you can broaden your proximity to other people like Todd, like myself, where you can rise above your circumstances. Don't be caught up in just because you're standing next to somebody, they're important to you. That's great that like you're able to connect with them. But I was wondering one day, I was sitting there and I was thinking about my best friends from grade school, and I'm like, I got nothing in common with this guy. I love him to death. I mean, I love him to death, but we get together for a drink or dinner, and we talk about grade school and high school because like we don't have much else in common. And I'm like, why was I friends with them? Because we were standing next to each other all the time in grade school. I had tons of time to talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very true. It's, you know, and to just put it more bluntly, I guess, like
I was hoping you were going to have a friend that started with B. I am disappointed.
Well, hey, you know, I didn't know.
Maybe there wasn't a guy in your class that started with B. That's why, or your best.
Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know, but
there aren't that many A's.
Put it more bluntly about the summation of the 5 people you hang out with. It's been said a long time ago. If you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires, right? Like that's that because you hear those conversations and you're a part of that circle and you're a part of that group and you're seeing, like, they're human beings. They still deal with a lot of the other crap, but how they deal with it might be completely different. So,
right. It's just so important to associate with somebody that, you know, been there, done that. Something else I do, and I think this is cool to mention to folks, and they can do it on audio, but like, I'm an avid reader. Like, I've read over 100 biographies in my life. I've probably read 3 just this year. And you can learn so many gold nuggets from reading about a famous person's life because you get the struggle, you get the success. Sometimes you get the struggle on the back end too.
Yeah.
But you always learn something. You always learn something. And 2, when obstacles come up in your life, and you can relate it to a famous person's same situation. Mm-hmm. Like as an example, like, I know all about Nikki Sixx's life because I've read his biography, and my son's a professional tattoo artist, and I'm telling my wife all the time, I'm like, we're raising Nikki Sixx over here.
Well, let's end on that note. There's always something to learn, and biographies are a powerful part of it. So,
absolutely, man.
John, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Todd. It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you guys on the next episode. See ya.